All right, this time we're going to look at using material IDs and also using those material IDs on an object to create special effects like glows. Glow seems to be one of the most kind of troubling things that people have with mental ray materials, because without mental ray materials, you can actually add an effect to your scene using lens effects and the glow effect. But within mental ray, the glow effect just really doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So with mental ray, there are actually much better and more controllable ways than what you can do with lens effects anyway. So what we want to do first is we're going to select the body and we're going to go into the polygon IDs. Now I'm going to select the polygons that I want to glow. So as we look around, let's make this full screen. It's a little hard to see exactly which polys are selected right now because they're already red. But as I add to my selection, you see the red just changes slightly. So I want to select all the polygons that are already red with the material that we painted earlier. So once those are selected, we're going to go down and find under our polygon material IDs, we're going to set the ID of those to 2. So when I type in 2 and hit enter, nothing actually changes on my object because there still at this point is only one material on the entire object. But this is going to allow me to actually control things a little bit more. So we're going to go to the material editor, and I'm going to drag in a new material called multi-subobject. The multi-subobject material gives me the ability to have multiple materials within basically a single object. So for now, I only need 2 materials. So we're just going to set this to 2. And ID1 is going to be the black part of the body, and ID2 is just what we just set, the red part of the body. So right now, we're going to start with ID1, and I'm just going to drag a connection. Let's bring this over here so we can see a little bit better. I'm going to drag a connection from the material we made for the forearm here into ID1, so that that's going to become the dark part of the body. Now, a glow effect in Max is really easy to do if you use the right mental ray materials. The best one for it is the architectural material. It's a standard material type. So as I drag it over here, we'll move this over so we've got some room. And then that's going to be put into ID2. Now, in order to apply this to the body, I really want to leave the edit poly subobject level. What I can do, I can actually apply materials to specific polygons if they're selected. So I don't really want to do that. I want to apply this material, this multi-sub, to the entire body. So as soon as I drag that on, you'll see, right, I've got my dark gray, that's the same as this, and now the light gray, or white almost, that's from this architectural material. So when I double click the architectural material, first of all, I'm going to change my diffuse color to the red that we want. So when I look, I see that it's red. Then we're going to look at, all right, we'll increase the shininess a little bit so we get tighter highlights, but we want to look at our luminance value. The luminance is going to allow me to actually make this object emit light into my scene, and it will actually illuminate other objects in the scene around it. So we're going to try this at 2000 and see what happens. Now, because we already turned on the glare shader over here in the render setup, so in my renderer tab, I come down and I actually make sure my output glare shader is turned on. All right, so that got turned back off. All right, so I turn on my output glare shader. And when I do that, when I go to render, I'll see that Max takes all these bright highlights and throws a glare around them. So now when I look at that, all right, it definitely looks like this red material is glowing, and it looks like the other hotspots have some nice kind of glare effect as well. But I want to have a little bit more control over that. So I'm going to drag this glare shader into my material editor as an instance. If I put it in as a copy, then whenever I change I make here is not actually affecting this. So I can double click on it there, and let's adjust the spread down to 1. So the quality maximum is 4, so we'll leave that at 2 for now and see. So the spread isn't quite enough now. So at 1.0, the glare, the effect is a bit too minimal. Let's zoom in a bit. We can see a little bit more. Double check our glare. Let's change this back to 2. And then let's go to our glowing material here. So let's crank this up a little bit more to 3000. We'll render again. So now we get this giant glow. All right, so let's drop this back down to 1. Between the spread here and the actual luminance value here, we're going to control exactly how that looks. So if you want this really, really bright and actually illuminating other objects in your scene, you're going to have to really bump up that luminance value. But then in order to control how far the glow spreads out, you'll have to go back to the glare and actually control the spread value. So let's try that at 1.25. Get it a little bit bigger. Then let's up the quality 1. For now, let's actually even turn on streaks and see what happens. That looks pretty good. I'm definitely seeing some little streaks on some of the round highlights. Some of the smaller highlights are getting it. So the big giant glow isn't getting it at all, which is good. I don't want streaks flying all over the place. And overall, that does actually feel like it's glowing and illuminating on his chest. So now I do want to go back into the material of his body and make it a bit more subtle on the change in there, so it's not quite as modeled. All right, so the glow effect, really easy to do. Just make sure that you use the architectural material and crank up that luminance value. Right? If you do that, make sure you then turn on the glare output shader and it'll look fantastic.